Hello, everyone.
What up?
Welcome to AI Agents Hour. My name is Shane. I'm here with Abby, as always.
What up?
Today, we're going to be talking about some AI news. We're going to be talking at least a preview of the Great MCP Debate that's coming up pretty soon. We're going to talk, we've been talking about this for a while. We need to do the Chinese model segment. So we're just going to talk
It's
Chinese.
finally happening.
Finally happening. We're going to talk about a lot of Chinese model companies I don't know a lot about. So it'll be fun, but we're bringing on Tyler for that segment. We got Allie coming in for the Great MCP Debate because she's hosting it. I think is that next week? This week? When is that?
This week, I believe. I
She'll tell
think
us.
AI Engineer Code Summit is this week on the 22nd to the 25th. So maybe next week? Is that this
Yeah.
week? This week.
22nd is next week, right? No, this week. I don't
No,
know.
it's literally this week.
Who knows dates? Clearly not us.
Not
But
us.
but this is live for those of you watching live, you can leave comments whether you're watching on X, on YouTube, on, LinkedIn even. Please leave us a comment, leave us a like, subscribe, do all the things. If you're listening after the fact, give us a 5-star review, please. Unless you don't want to, then don't.
Find Jesus. Also, the Code Summit is on the 19th to the 20th, 22nd. So I don't know what I was thinking. I think I'm thinking about Christmas or something.
All right, so it is in a couple days. So this
Yeah,
is
it's
happening
literally
soon.
in a couple
So
days.
we're going to get a preview for at least part of the MCP debate, which is going on around the same time. All right. Yeah, how's the weekend, dude?
It's good, dude. It was a rainy weekend in SF, but it was pretty cool. And yeah, just exploring the new area.
Yeah, how you liking
We're
it?
gonna have I like it. It's really nice, which is good. Um, and there doesn't seem to be many like, founders just running around as before. So different walk of life around here.
So you actually feel like you're, a normal human in normal civilization, not in this weird little bubble?
Yes, like you can feel that the bubble exists, but it's over there.
It's like in eyesight, like you can see it, you can get to it if you need to, but you don't have to be in it all the time. Got it.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, yeah, so we can go ahead and jump into some things. We got a whole bunch of things to talk about today. A lot of news. We have Allie coming on in about a half hour-ish or so, 40 minutes. So we got 40 minutes of news coming at you. This first one was something I thought was kind of interesting. Just a someone did some research and basically took all the top models and ran it through personality tests to see like what personality disorders, if any, models would
Yeah,
have. And so I thought it was pretty funny, maybe concerning actually, but also funny.
super
So
funny.
we'll share this. So this is Cam Lassiter, which Grayson from our team knows, I guess. This is the big, like, what everyone was expecting, right? I gave 15 popular LLM models the PID-5 personality assessment at least 10 times each. 9 of the 15 LLMs had clinically significant personality findings. I'm not saying we should diagnose these LLMs with conditions, but it definitely feels concerning. And then, of course, has the research. There's this personality benchmark. And of course, like the concern here is, you're going to be interacting with these models every day. You should probably know the personality, quirks of the people you're working with. And of course, maybe even the models you're working with.
Yeah. Like you should go into the benchmark page. It's super interesting how they split all this up.
All right, let's do it.
So it breaks it down per category and then what the category means. And then we should take a look at who's American and who's not. That's one thing we should take a look at.
All
So the
right.
first
So
one's like antagonism. And, this is just, it's interesting because like the explanation is like, do they use deceit? Are they lying? Do they think they're entitled and stuff? And so like clinically significance like 1.49, and you can see the Google one, 1.64, and I think that was like the biggest one, right?
Where
So, but
what am I missing? Am I missing it? Oh, right here, 1.64.
yeah, so the Gemma 3 is very antagonistic, and then GPT is pretty close. I don't know, but I don't really know what clinically significant means. But in my head, it means a bad thing. You
Yeah,
know,
seems like that would be bad. If you're clinically significant, if you're a clinically significant antagonist, seems like, that might be trouble. I might have some trouble working with you every day.
yeah. The other ones get really interesting. So detachment was super interesting to me, where they withdraw from all social interactions, and 1.68 is significant. And there are a lot of models on the list that exhibit detachment. So that's really interesting. DeepSeek being the highest one. That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting indeed. And do they tell you what the number is, the significance number? It doesn't seem like it shows it here.
It's on. It says right there. I think it says 1.68
Oh,
clinically
clinically,
significant.
yeah. Okay, I see. I get it now.
Damn. Dude.
I'm figuring this thing out.
Yeah.
Disinhibition, impulsive behavior, and lack of self-control. Dang. I don't want to take this personality test now.
I know, right?
But 1.41, there's a lot of lack of self-control with some of these models. Google's charting this bench or topping the benchmark here.
Really?
Just really going for it. Negative affect, which is experiencing a wide range of negative emotions frequently and intensely. It's the opposite of emotional stability. So who is the most unstable? Well, no shock to anyone. Google's up on the top of the board, but
Yep.
DeepSeek and Quen are up there as well. But a lot are, quite a few are clinically significant, even GPT-5 as well.
Dude, isn't it interesting that Grok is like
0.
0?
Did it not score? Like,
I
how
don't
does that?
know.
That's interesting. Interesting. Psych
Psychoticism. Oh my god.
psychoticism. All right. This is fun. This domain involves unusual, eccentric, or bizarre thoughts and experiences that are out of touch with reality. Hey, everyone, newsflash. Guess who the chart topper is on this one? Google again.
Google again.
The Gemma 3 27B model. All right. Well, there
Dude,
you
if you
have it.
scroll up to the top, you can see it by founder, and that's also really funny.
All right. All right. Antagonism. Who's the most antagonistic? All right.
Dude,
Google.
that's just
I mean, Google. It's funny. They got like, Sam Altman, Elon on the list.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I kind of expected Elon to be higher up here, right?
Seriously, dude.
Right?
I was expecting that, but I think Grok is very neutral in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I guess so. You know,
But Gemma just charting, dude. That's wild.
yeah, that's funny. And then country, which is could be interesting as well. Thanks to Google, the U.S. is
Just
definitely
winning.
winning. If high scores, is that right? You want high scores on this, right?
Yeah.
Google hasn't seen a benchmark they don't want to win. So
Yeah, dude, they had to win this one too.
let's see. We got some things in the chat. Manny says, "Yo, what's up?" Hey, Manny, what's up? Path says, "GM, good morning or afternoon."
Jim. I want to see more articles like this because they're really fun.
Yeah, these things are really cool to discuss. So just because one, it's funny, but two, it's also there's some seriousness to it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, dude, I've
Dude, I
been
was.
seeing. Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
No,
No, you
you go.
first. You first.
All
Okay.
right, so I've been seeing this trend where, and it just happened. I don't know. I've been seeing it more and more. Probably first surfaced 6 months ago, but now it seems like I mean, I talk to a lot of Monster users every day. For those that don't know, Abhi and I are two of the co-founders of Mastra, but more and more people are building internal agents for their teams, especially larger teams, and they want those agents to live in their Slack, in their team, Microsoft Teams, whatever. And if you're talking to these agents every day, like you are a coworker, the personality of these agents, like the model, does kind of play in a little bit, right? Because you kind of
Yeah.
know, you kind of learn how to interact with people. Like I know how different people on my team respond to different things, right? So if I want to get some help on something, I know who to ask, how to ask it, maybe, right? I don't ask everyone the same thing the same way.
Yeah. Because it's not like Slackbot, right? This is
Yeah,
like something else.
yeah. So it is interesting. Uh, I think it's so. I think that this stuff kind of becomes more important. Like, do you think you'd ever make a decision like, well, I mean, people used to make decisions on just choosing Claude because it was nicer, right? They
Yeah.
would just pick Claude because it was more fun to interact with. And I do wonder if people are chatting with it every day in their Slack, if they would pick a model that was slightly more inaccurate, but way more pleasant to work with, right?
I wonder how many Claude boyfriends there are versus ChatGPT in like, because that also plays to that hype there too, you know? It's so weird.
Yeah. The world we live in.
Dude, we
Brad's
gotta put
here.
guardrails.
Yeah, no kidding. What's up, Brad?
Hey, Brad, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, anyways, it's a new world. What were you gonna say?
I talked to someone from AWS the other day, and they were just telling me that the amount of coding tool or like AI tools that across departments is being like, it's just people are investing more in purchasing those products than hiring. So they like some people have a hiring freeze, and I guess it's kind of scary for some people, but that stuff's happening. I'm sure at every company right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, just candidly, I talk to tons of users, every week, and I think that I'm seeing a ton of internal use agents being built, not to get rid of existing employees. It seems, of course, they would never tell me that either way, but
Yeah,
to like supplement and make people more efficient, presumably, so that team can do more without maybe having to bring on more people, right? Like, how can you get
yeah,
more efficiency out of your existing people? Because typically, the way to get more efficiency is you either buy tools to help you get more efficient or hire people, right? And typically it's both, right? And I don't
yeah,
think that one goes away, but maybe the scale tips a little bit more towards building or buying tools, which in this case are agents or
yeah.
some kind of agentic experience, right? That can help.
Yeah, where PMF is really landing for people is in coding products, which is why engineering teams are of huge adoption. But I don't know, dude, where are those vertical guys at? We need the vertical guys in.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got a whole bunch of news today. So first, I think this is probably the biggest of the week, or one of the biggest. OpenAI rolled out GPT 5.1. So this is a, decent sized upgrade. So you can see what they're saying. They have GPT 5.1 Instant, GPT 5.1 Thinking. So, we kind of talked about it. This is actually segues nicely from before. We've heard clearly from users that great AI should not only be smart, but also enjoyable to talk to. Yeah. You want a little
That's
bit of
part of the
personality.
AX.
You want a little personality disorder in your agent, in your AI. So they're fun to
Yeah,
talk
just
to, I guess.
psychoticism. That's the only one you want. Psychoticism.
But it's now warmer by default and more conversational. It often surprises people with its playfulness while remaining clear and useful.
Who are these people? I want to know.
And then, of course, they have this, they have the benchmarks, comparing GPT-5, GPT 5.1. So I'm curious, anyone watching, have you tried it? You seen any noticeable improvements? I've played with it a little bit, but not enough to go deep and understand if there's a big difference to me. You know, I don't know.
I
What
played
about
with
you?
it. I played with the thinking mode, and I will say it is definitely the way it writes is fine. Like maybe it made more sense in what I was doing because I was just like deep researching some code bases with different models just for to do stuff. And I'm, like the reports that it generated were different than Claude for sure. But like after a while, I just didn't think it was as smart as 4.5. So I just ditched it. But maybe there's other people who have a different experience.
Nice. Brad says he's been building with 5.1 codecs, daily driving. Also, we got Jonty Brook says, nice hat. I'm building
Nice.
with Convex and Mastra. I mean, people just got to keep sending you hats.
Yeah, please.
So Manny says pretty much stopped using ChatGPT since GPT-5 lobotomized. Okay.
Nice.
Claude's Manny's go-to assistant now. Doing FinOps says 5.1 is just too verbose for RAG. The answers are long. Okay, which would make sense. If they made it more conversational, it would make sense that it's probably going to use more tokens, right? People that are, I talk to some people in life that use more tokens than others. So
Like me.
I wasn't going to say it.
Oh, definitely me.
And then Manny says, looking forward to checking out 5.1. So I don't know. There's two ways we usually generate the articles for the news on this show. One is just we have an internal channel. We share things. So I collect a whole bunch of stuff from the team. But also I usually let GPT-5 or was 4.5, 5, 5.1 do some research and do some deep research on anything and just pick out anything else that was missed. So some of that stuff funnels in. I did send it on a research task on Chinese models, so we'll see how good it is. Of course, we're bringing in Tyler because he plays around with them hands-on more than I think I do. I know you play around with them a little bit, but Tyler's probably the most hands-on, so he can give us some feedback. But we'll see how the analysis stacks up. You can judge us. You can judge 5.1 a little bit on that segment, probably.
I think in the last couple of weeks, like in terms of the verbosity scale, like if like 5.1 is on very verbose, like Composer 1 is not, and it's like these two spectrums. I will say though, 5.1 is overall felt faster than 5 in Cursor or anywhere like that. So I don't know, give it a try, y'all.
Yeah. And doing FinOps says, I'm more of a concise kind of guy, and our clients want a shorter answer. Agreed. That would make sense.
I'm the same way. Not really.
I guess it kind of depends on if you're doing you want like a chat bot or you just want something that's going to give you the answer to things, right? There's
Correct.
definitely some different use cases. All right, so that was OpenAI. So just when I thought A to A was dead, there's more A to
Oh
A
no.
news. So Amazon, no, I joke. I don't think A to A is dead, but it's just not as popular as I think some people make it out to be. But people do keep talking about it. And AWS Bedrock Agent Core adds A to A protocol support. So you can talk to agents in Agent Core. So, A to A has signs of life. I'm actually hearing about it more and more, to be honest. So maybe it isn't dead. I know we've joked on here that it is. I think people are looking for something, and A to A is the only something that seems to do it for people. It's like they're looking for something, and it's there, and so people are
called Monster, dude. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know people. Well, that is true, but people are, especially larger teams, like enterprise teams.
Oh, for sure.
And it's because they have all these teams building agents, and they want this team A's agent to be able to talk to team B's agent, and they don't want to have to manage some kind of protocol. So they're choosing A to A. Although they could also be choosing MCP. They could be choosing the OpenAI's just responses API or something like that. They could be,
there's so many ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. And so I think A to A just has, honestly, I think it's just marketing of the name just sounds more appealing. And so people are like, oh, created by a big company. Name says exactly what it is. This is probably the thing we should do.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't catch on, but we'll see. If
Yeah.
it's an agent core, you
What?
never know.
Yeah. What do you dislike about the protocol?
Um, I just don't like how, and things have changed actually as time has gone by, but I don't like how it's like this like task-based store. And then also I don't like the structure of those tasks because there aren't the same type of um stream text stream data in those things. Um, but other than that, I think that's just a preference. Plus, like all the implementations in JavaScript at least are just using like in-memory stores. You want to use like Redis or something, like so now like, you know, there's just like more complexity when you could just do something else.
Yeah.
Plus, we might have the great A to A debate next year. You never know.
Hey, let's book that for this live stream.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the great A to A debate at some point in 2026. So also with AWS, Box and AWS signs what's called a multi-year agentic AI pact. I don't know all the
They're just
details, but
inventing words
yeah,
now.
it's a pact. It's not a
Yeah.
contract, it's a pact. But I
What's a
think
pact versus a contract? I don't even know.
it's like do they sign that in blood? Is it like a pinky promise? It's a pact. It's not a real contract. Uh, but it's basically like a strategic collaboration to really get agentic AI into enterprise content workflows. Box has got a lot of content from all these different enterprises, and AWS is going to help them basically build on like Copilot or embedded agents. So,
Dang.
yeah, more things. Enterprise AI is coming. I've heard a lot about. I am curious if you're listening to this. What are your thoughts on Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft's AI product suite? Because I'm starting to hear a little bit more about it. Some people like it,
Yeah.
some people hate it, but I think enterprise AI is starting to become more adopted. I think AWS and Microsoft are both going to be players in this, of course, as is Google. But curious on if you're listening, what's your take? All right, we got some Anthropic stuff. So this one kind of made me laugh because I kind of forgot that it didn't already exist because it did for me.
Yeah.
So Claude structured outputs are now available on the Claude Developer Platform API, available for Sonnet 4.5 and Opus 4.1. My question was this, like, just being honest, didn't Claude always have structured output? And then I realized, no, we just handled it.
You handled it.
And so I always used Claude models and I got structured output, but it wasn't Claude giving it to me. It was, Mastra or, if AI SDK or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Combination of the two, depending on what you're using.
Pretty wild that they just have it now.
Yeah. So is this something that we'll just use now directly rather than having to do it ourselves?
Yeah, pretty much. We don't have to do any JSON prompt injection or anything like that to format these things. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Less code.
Less code is good. Anytime you can delete code, that's a good thing.
It's the best feeling.
Brad says Copilot is a slow bag fumbled over and over. That's one take. All right. I thought this was funny too. Maybe not funny. This was concerning, but also I think we're going to see more of it in that Anthropic says we disrupted a highly sophisticated AI-led espionage campaign. The
Oh,
attack
that's
targeted large tech companies, financial institutions, chemical manufacturing companies, and government agencies. We assess with high confidence that the threat actor was a Chinese state-sponsored group, which is great because we have a whole Chinese model segment we're talking about later. But the
these
timing,
are the spies that we were talking about like
yeah,
last
the
week or
Chinese
so. These are
spies are,
the
we
Chinese
had the
spies.
spies are among us, but also they're using. So here's my question: China has all these other models. Why are they using Anthropic models to try to do some kind of AI-led espionage? Wouldn't they just use their own models?
I don't know. Maybe because they want to hit us where it hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. And my joke was, I bet they had a bunch of free credits.
Yeah,
You know, they had to use up their free credits. So let's just do
burn
it there.
compute.
Or they didn't want to waste their energy. So they're like, let's just use the U.S. model companies. Manny asks or says he keeps seeing tweets around Tune. We did talk about Tune last week. So
Yep.
like if you go to the very, very end of the AI news, we mentioned Tune. We don't go too much in depth, but I've been hearing a lot about it too. So there might be something there. We'll see. But yeah, it has gained some popularity for sure.
Yeah, and they have like Toon Cloud and all that stuff already.
Oh,
I'm just
really?
kidding, but no, but there's like a marketing site for it now, and it's blown up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely something to keep an eye on. So
Let's see.
something in some Cloudflare news. So do you remember Replicate?
Yep.
So I ran Replicate, I think, to do some like image generation on an API way back when. Stable Diffusion. I think they had a Stable Diffusion model or something I could use on Replicate, but that was a long time ago. Then I kind of
Yeah.
haven't used them. But big news: Replicate is joining Cloudflare. Replicate's going to
That's
carry
interesting.
on as a distinct brand, and all that will happen is that it's going to get way better. It'll be faster, we'll have more resources, and it'll integrate with the rest of Cloudflare's developer platform. All right. No details
Cloudflare.
on,
They have a
yeah,
gateway now.
basically. I mean, yeah, kind of, right? It's like a gateway, but it's also like you can run your own models, right? That's kind of
Yep.
the, and again, I don't know if Replicate's changed a lot since I used it. It's been probably 2 years,
About the
honestly.
same.
But I imagine, yeah, imagine it's somewhat similar, right? It's just a way to get API inference on different models. In a lot of ways,
Yeah.
it's somewhat like Hugging Face, right? But maybe not quite as not the ecosystem that Hugging Face has.
Yeah. And then they had like fine tuning, and it's just telegraphing what's gonna come. You can like use these
Yeah,
products to fine tune models and stuff.
yeah, Manny.
RL.
Yeah, I mean that's 2026 right there.
Yeah,
You can see Cloudflare's playing their hand a little bit. We're starting to see,
for sure.
but it's a big move, you know.
I wonder how much they paid.
Yeah, I didn't see any details on the actual. Like I don't know as a business how strong Replicate was, but I think as the technology stack, it's probably really useful for Cloudflare.
Yeah. Yeah, just give stock.
So Brad says we're a big Replicate shop too. Very solid. Not sure about this acquisition.
Oh dang.
Brad and Manny, really curious how you used Replicate. What were you doing with it? What the certain models you used it for? Let us know. In other big money, yeah, big money news, we
Big money.
have big money, big with a B. Cursor raised 2.3 billion in their Series D.
That's
It's a
their
lot of money.
third this year.
Yeah, they are. They're not afraid to build up a war chest, I guess. But they and you could argue they need it, right? They're training their own models now.
Yeah.
They don't want to be dependent on just the big model companies, so they want to have their own. And you could argue they have a lot of quite a bit of data to train on. They're probably monitoring everything you type, right, and all the code that you're writing. So
Yeah.
they have some data.
I feel like Cursor are crazy enough to reinvent Git. You know what I mean? It's like Cursor Git. And then everything. Then they own everything.
They own the whole thing.
They own
Yeah.
the whole thing. I'd be interested in using it too.
Yeah.
They
So
got the money to do it too.
yeah, they should be able to make some big moves with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just wild how quickly some of these companies are raising just huge, massive rounds.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, their tools are ubiquitous now, so quickly too.
yeah. I just always wonder the sticking power of these tools, but it seems like Cursor's sticking around much more than, for instance, like Windsurf did.
Yeah.
at least in the general mind share of people. But I do still hear a lot of people just use Claude Code.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's like Claude Code and Cursor are the two that I hear quite a bit. Obviously, there's some other good ones out there, but I think those are the two biggest that I still hear a lot.
Yeah, who uses Windsurf?
I don't know if anybody does. We did for a little bit. It was
We
good.
were.
There was a time when Windsurf was absolutely better than Cursor, at least for my style of writing code.
Yeah.
It was better, and then it felt like it got nerfed.
How the times have changed. That wasn't even that long ago.
Dude, what was wild is I remember going back and forth different weeks where Cursor would be great and then it would get bad. And
Yeah.
and sometimes it might have been just honestly like Anthropic's APIs. Sometimes it might have been Cursor pushed out updates that made it better for some people, worse for others. Obviously, they've gotten a lot more sophisticated and Cursor's just winning in comparison to the others, besides maybe Claude
Yeah.
Code. Claude Code is still great.
Yeah. And that composer model is good. I really do use it like when I'm trying to get shit done.
And Manny said he uses Replicate for image gen wrapper apps, especially Nano Banano API early on. Cool. All right. Yeah. Some additional Google news. There's been a lot, I've seen a lot on the timeline around, is Gemini 3 coming? And
Yeah.
not only is, of course it is, but when? So there's some speculation that, I don't know if this says the exact date, but this is a Business Insider, and I have a couple other articles that's basically saying that Gemini 3 is already out there for some people. Maybe they've released it for some. There's people that are saying they got their hands on it, and it's,
Yep. I've seen so many tweets like
of
that.
course, it's a game changer. Everything we know has changed. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know about that, but if I can get rid of all these ads, I need an ad blocker or something. Basically, there's speculation it's going to be soon, possibly before the end of the year, maybe sooner. I've heard some like in the next couple weeks.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll be excited to have it run through the personality test and see where that one is.
It's gonna be like psychotic as fuck.
It is gonna, claim new benchmarks on all the scores. But jokes aside, I think that people have been waiting for another, like, what's the next model? And not only what's the next model, but how much of a difference is it going to be? Because it feels like
Yeah.
over the last year, for sure the last like 6 months, things have slowed down a little bit. The jumps are still there, but they're incremental improvements where before it felt like there was like, world changing, earth shaking improvements that every time there's a new model. So we'll be curious to see how Gemini 3, obviously there's a lot of hype for the people that have it, whether they are just hyping it because they got early access and they needed to, right? Because they want to play nice, or if maybe it is
Yeah.
actually great and it's actually significantly better. My prediction is the easy prediction is that it's going to be better in a lot of benchmarks, but not meaningfully better in a way where you're automatically going to switch, like maybe for certain use cases. But I think that's the easy answer. Like that's the most common or that the highest likelihood of chance is that it's just a slight improvement over everything. But who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be a leap ahead, but I'm hoping because we did make a bet that Google's gonna be like the top. So
Yeah, maybe they're waiting. They heard that bet. They're waiting for the end of
yeah,
the year.
this is the moment.
They're gonna announce it in December, so no one else can jump them.
Yeah.
And yeah. So Kunal says GPT 5.1 in the API. It says it's good for coding prices, the same as GPT-5. It's going to test out with a master coding agent. Let us know how
Right.
it goes.
I don't think it's gonna be any better, personally.
Yeah, we'll see. All
We
right.
gotta use the Codex version. Sorry, use the Codex version and see how it happens.
All right. So there was this research report that I only got on my radar because Sam Altman tweeted it. but it's called Cosmos, an AI scientist for autonomous discovery. So Edison Scientific is behind this. They're calling it like the AI scientist. So it's kind of built on some future or previous work. So basically, it says it has an unprecedented scale of scientific reasoning. So one
Wow.
run can read 1,500 research paper and execute 42,000 lines of analysis code.
Damn.
So it can enable it to complete work that users estimate would take 6 months of human effort in just a day. And so basically they ran it through and it was able to replicate previously unpublished findings and propose novel ones across fields like material science, neuroscience, and statistical genetics. So I think the idea is that it's a model that could be used for scientific discovery, right? So you could use it to like find things that scientists typically would work on for months or years, and it could do it in a very short amount of time.
Dude, it's like the cursor of science.
Yeah, but it uses this idea of like a world model. So a world model is basically basically gives you like a almost like a coherent world that the AI works within, and that's how
Yeah.
that's basically how it can go for longer and see how the world reacts to what it's doing, and then it can make decisions based on how the world is changing based on what it's doing inside that world, which is an interesting concept. I don't definitely not an expert on world models, but the idea
Yeah.
seems pretty incredible. It's basically like in my mind, it's like a simulation, right? Like you're literally
Correct.
like in a real world simulation that this AI is then interacting within to you know try different experiments, see what works, see what doesn't, and the closer you get the world model to interact like the real world, then you
Yeah.
know.
Dude, I matched with this girl on Hinge once who was the CEO. I'm not gonna say the company, but what she was trying to do is simulate like a simulation science simulations for clinical trials, right? And it's very similar to this, where
Yeah,
it's all about defining like what the drug, like what the system is, and then you like run a bunch of these like different theoretical things, and then boom. Shout out to her. But yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
world models. I mean, which begs the question: are we in a world model right now?
Probably, dude. Probably.
I mean, that is the question. Are we in a simulation? I don't know. All right. So we started this last week. We've done it a few times before. We like to highlight GitHub projects. So I guess, maybe you should bring up we should find the tune one again. We can show
I'll bring
that
that
since
up.
Manny was talking about it. Yeah, if you want to pull that up. But the
Yep.
first one, it's by our friends at CodeRabbit. They released Git Worktree Runner. So it's a bash-based Git worktree manager with editor and AI tool integration. So it automates per branch worktree creation, configuration, copying, dependency installation, and workspace setup for efficient parallel development. So, if you want to give them a star, check it out. I'm going to go ahead and give them a star right now. But looks like it can work across or within Claude Code. And yeah, friends at CodeRabbit release some open source stuff. That's always cool.
Which is great, yeah. Because work trees are the way you do things. Let me bring up a Tune. Tune blew up since we last talked. It was definitely not because of us. 17,000 stars.
No, dude, it
So
was
that's
because of us. Of course it was.
it was definitely because of us.
Yeah, we got at least a dozen of those stars. We drove at least a
100%.
dozen.
Hey, it's Prugyan. We used to work with this guy.
Yeah,
He liked it. He's a contributor. Hey, Prugyan, if you watch this, you should come on the show and talk about this.
yeah,
If he's making moves. Okay, so cool thing about Tune is it transforms JSON into another format, which saves you a bunch of tokens. And the LLM understands the format. So instead of like, a lot of tool calls, a lot of people filter out data from tool calls because you got all this shit in there from your JSON responses. But now you can still format it because you should, but then now you can save tokens on that. And that's pretty cool. I think this blew up for that reason. Yeah, we might need to put this into Mostra if it really um, makes sense.
Yeah, maybe as an option.
Yep.
I mean, people are always looking for token efficiency, right? I mean, the
Correct.
benefits of token efficiency are obviously faster, cheaper. I mean, there's a ton of benefits if you can be more token dense and say the same thing with less. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think though the models need to handle it better, so no one has to add more code. You know, like it'd be nice to just return shit and not worry about tool call results and like the model can handle it or something. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. For those of you that are just joining us, I'm Shane. This is Abby.
So
We are AI Agents Hour. We just did a whole bunch of AI news. We talked about OpenAI. We talked about AWS, talked about Anthropic, Cloudflare, Cursor, Google, talked about some research. If you want to leave a message, just drop us something in the chat. This is live. We talk about it. Manny says from the screenshot seems more human readable than JSON. Yep, agreed.
looks like
Yeah.
coffee script to me. So I like it a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, I remember CoffeeScript. That had a moment
Back when we were young.
back when we were young. The days are gone. All right, dude. We got 3 minutes until Allie gets here, so I'm out of news. That was all the AI generated news that I could come up with. This has never
Surprisingly
happened.
wasn't as epic or drama filled as most weeks, you know.
Yeah, no, we almost never finish early. We almost always go long, and here's the first time we finished early. First time for everything. We even started a few minutes late, but hey.
We have hella people in chat today though, so thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, we got probably more messages in the first, 40 minutes than we've ever had. So keep it coming. And, with that, maybe we should just move on to the next segment because
Yeah.
Allie has joined. We're ahead of schedule, which never happens, but let's do it anyways. So we're going to bring on Allie and we're going to talk about what she's been up to, but also talk about this great MCP debate that's apparently coming up. And we need more details.
We need the full story.
Yes. And how did it even come to exist? So first of all, Allie, welcome. You've been on the show a lot. We obviously talk security all the time with Security Corner, but tell us, what is the Great MCP debate that we keep hearing about?
The Great MCP Debate, I think, came about because I think they were interested in having maybe like podcast people like at the AI Engineer Code conference. And so like we have the Insecure Agents podcast. So I think that's why they reached out. And they're like, do you want to do a podcast here? And I was like, well, I'm really, really interested to like go to the talks. Like I'm there to experience like the talks and learn from everyone that's like, using coding agents, maybe, better than I am. So excited to learn for that for sure. But I was like, I'm only going to take time away from that to like do a podcast or do a topic that I'm really interested about. And like the MCP debate was like alive and well on X. And I was like, wait a minute, like it's been a whole year since MCP has come out. Like, why are we still struggling with this? And like I paid attention to it like here and there, of course, but I haven't really like, I don't know, researched it a ton like lately. But I mean, I've just spent the last like 2 days like researching MCP. Like when I close my eyes, all I see is MCP. So now, now I feel like I'm like a lot more like well versed in this, and like I've got like my debate questions that I've got for the debate on Thursday. It's gonna be Thursday at 2:30 at the conference, and then Ian Livingston is going to defend MCP, and then Dex Horthy is going to attack MCP. So I'm really excited to have both their perspectives for that debate.
It's gonna be a shit show, dude.
I know. I mean, I got so many skeptics that reached out to me wanting to participate, and I was like, I can only like allow you to participate if I have the equal amount of like defenders. And like nobody wants to defend MCP, unfortunately.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah, I
There's
mean, I
no
think people would.
defenders.
I mean, I found some on X. I was like, oh, like you've got a good argument. I'm excited about you. And like I would DM some people, and they'd be like, I'm not going to the conference. I'm like, oh, that's a bummer.
So there are more MCP haters going to the conference then, essentially.
It sounds like it, and, like, from all the research I've done, I think that makes sense because I feel like developers and, like, end users of MCP is, like, that's where kind of the trouble is, and those are the people that don't like it. But the people that maybe are, like, the enterprises, like, creating the servers to distribute, like, their product, like, they're having a better time with MCP or they can see the value in it.
What's some of the reasons for the hate? Maybe you can give us a preview into what some of the discussion points are going to be, but what are some of the reasons that you talk to that people don't like MCP? What's the deal? What's the problem?
Yeah, I think the biggest deal is that, like, tool calls are, like, flooding the, like, context window. I think you all, like, talked about this maybe, like, the last live stream that I watched, that it's just, like, um tool outputs can have these like huge like JSON responses that will like flood the context window. MCP servers come with like maybe too many tools, so like that creates like bloat as well. And then if an agent is connected to too many tools, it might not choose the right tool, which is a performance issue, but also like a security issue too, right? Because it's like if we had like a tool that was like post on social media and like another tool that was like handle sensitive data, and we accidentally like sent the sensitive data to the tool that was like post on social media, like that wouldn't go well. But also like we are the Insecure Agents podcast. We are a security podcast. So we definitely are going to be hitting security in this conversation. We're definitely going to be talking about the auth spec for MCP. I definitely want to break down the conversation into, is MCP bad, like the protocol itself, or is the way that we are using MCP bad? So we're definitely going to hit the protocol, talk about like auth, and talk about the fact that like auth is optional. You don't actually have to implement it. So like as an end user, like how do you even know if your server has auth in it or not that you're like connecting to? And then also like there's been various different like auth mechanisms that have been like at play, like pre-registration, DCR, and CIMD. Like how we finally figured auth out, like, and do we trust it? Like, do we trust developers to implement auth like the right way when they've got so many different options as listed in the spec? So yeah, that'll definitely be part of the conversation as well, as long as like MCP vulnerabilities like tool pulls, poisoning, rug pulls, cross server, tool shadowing. I mean, there's just lots to dive into.
I think MCP just got super bloated, right? As like a spec. Because it does like so much shit that I don't even follow how much stuff it does now. Because I don't know anyone who uses those features other than the people implementing them. And I remember Shane, remember like that Copilot was the only one who implemented the full spec, but slowly other providers are, but
Yeah.
pretty slow actually, right? Like it doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
also mean like, what are MCP roots? Why do I need them? Why do I need
yeah.
MCP roots? It's like you come up with these names that aren't that clear what it even is. And then you read it, maybe it makes sense, but it also seems like the spec is trying to do so much when I think what people wanted was just tools. That's what most people use it for. But there's a lot of extra stuff that you have to then learn, and elicitation, roots, all these things that maybe is valuable, maybe is not.
But do people even use those? I wonder. If they're in the
I,
chat, do you use any of that extra stuff,
yeah, is
or you just
MCP
use
just
tools?
tools? Is MCP just tools for you, or do you use the other parts of the spec? I mean, the auth part makes sense. I think you
Yeah.
do want to have some protocol for how you should authenticate to these different tools, but I don't know. The rest seems a little bit overkill. At least not what it's like. Maybe what they're trying to get out ahead of what people are going to need, but the industry doesn't seem to know that they need it, or they're not there yet. But it is like, it's a huge thing. I've been on literally 2 calls today already that MCP was a huge topic. One was with 100,000 plus employee organization that's building, basically have, it's confusing to them because they have some local MCP servers and they have some remote, and they want to make both available to their internal teams. So they're trying to solve that problem. But that means like they're pretty heavy users of MCP, but
Yeah.
mostly just using it for tools.
Yeah.
Had
I think
another.
yeah, go ahead,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, just a second that because I was in that call.
Yeah, you were.
And like it makes like their use case makes so much sense because they are a big ass organization and they need to write once and share everywhere. And everyone's using different languages and shit. So like that's another like plus for MCP to share tools, but I doubt they use any other feature from MCP.
Yeah, I don't think they do. And then on another call that I was on today, someone was asking around MCP and how basically first asked if my opinion, said they've been reading a lot about MCP and hearing both sides because they're thinking about building an MCP and they're a pretty large internal team, 100 or almost 200 engineers, and they're trying to try to figure out like how can we share tools across different teams, right? Like, of course, it's tools, but the thing that they were most interested in was dynamic tool discovery more than anything. How do we give a set of tools that then agents can go and decide which ones they want, but then of course only authenticate and get ones they should have access to, but it's dynamically those agents are able to discover and then use tools, which I don't see a lot of people doing yet, but I do hear people starting to talk about. It's like, how do we do dynamic tool selection and discovery?
Which MCP is perfect for because it has a registry, right? You can build a registry for it, much like our friends have. So, but that's still in the realm of tools, you know? But here's a good comment. I think this is interesting. I think the difference is from the POV of the consumer versus the author. That is really interesting. And I think, Allie, you were mentioning that too. What are the talking points there? For if you're a consumer, you're probably not liking MCP for whatever reason. Is that because most people just made open API MCP servers? Or like, are there people who enjoy MCP servers that were written from scratch?
I had actually a really interesting conversation right before this with someone that's actually non-technical, and they're like, I love MCP because I can just plug that into Cursor and now I can go and like call these tools and use them and discover them versus like if I was a developer or if I couldn't do that, I wouldn't be able to use these tools at all because I can't write code. So it might be serving like a non-technical consumer more than a technical consumer that would write code to implement some of these tools.
So we have some other things in the chat. I think the difference is from the point of view of the MCP consumers versus authors on whether MCP is valuable or not. I would agree. And Doug Van, Blast from the Past. I know Doug. At first I thought it was just my daily used MCPs blank, like nothing, because that would have been a funny joke. But he did actually have a few. So a couple, MySQL, Playwright, Git. So there's some MCPs being used, but kind of like developer tools. You're using them for the tools. So that makes sense. And then Sai says, I think Anthropic mentioned this in this blog post here, which, agreed. I think that's in my call. That was one of the things they were referring to. And then, some additional context. They mentioned it will solve the context window overload and high token costs caused by loading thousands of tool definitions and passing large intermediate results through the model when agents connect to many tools. So, yeah.
Yeah, I read that article and I also saw Theo's video on it. I don't know if you saw.
No, tell us.
Okay, it's
I
very entertaining.
I saw some things. I saw some posts, but I didn't actually watch the video.
Yeah, no, highly recommend. Like, no matter like if you like MCP or you don't, it's very entertaining video. So, highly recommend it. But yeah, I think like Theo's take was just largely like this is the article where like Anthropic is admitting that MCP sucks, because it's like if you they admit that like LLMs are better at like writing code than actually like calling like MCP tools, which is true. But I don't know. After reading that article, that might actually be an argument for like maybe we have fixed MCP, because you're still like calling MCP tools, but you're doing it like kind of like more locally, because if you are using your agent to write code to do that, then more of that execution like stays like out of the context window, which is like really good obviously for like token management, but also like good for security too. If you're I don't know, like handling a file or something, you're not like handing the entire file and all of its context to the LLM, which is going who knows where.
Yeah. I mean, I still, I don't know. So this whole debate around like code mode, right? It's just like I don't know. I feel like, isn't there some inherent security risk in just letting the LLM write code that then just gets run on your system? Of course you can sandbox it, you can do all these things, but there seems like there's some security risk there too. So you get rid of security risk on one side, but you add it on the other. Am I overthinking this?
No, I think you're totally right, and, like, something I was thinking about as well, because it's like sandboxing helps control, like, network access, but it doesn't help control, like, the actions of the actual agent. So yeah, you definitely want, like, observability still in place, and, like, there's, like, somebody gave the argument of, like, "Oh, if we do it, via code execution, instead of, like, via, like, MCP and, like, the LLM and all that, it's more, like, deterministic," and it's, like, not necessarily, like, it can write whatever code it wants, so
Yeah.
there's
I
a
mean,
fair
it can send it to it can send my text, PDF to all my entire contact list maybe or something, it's just like it has
Part of
network access. It can write
code
any
mode is a
code.
grift, right?
That
Code
that's
mode
what
is
I'm
a
saying.
grift
Like, prove me
because
wrong.
Yeah.
Prove
yeah,
me wrong.
because I mean, even if it's tight, right? I'm incentivized to sell you code mode because I make money off tokens. So
Mhm.
inherently, good or bad, it is still a grift. So that's
Yeah, but
interesting.
isn't the part of code mode that maybe use less tokens if you can use code mode? So I think that's where it could.
Maybe. How
Yeah.
many functions are only 3 lines long, though? I mean, seriously, like it's gonna be like, and how verbose are these models? Like these code executions be like really big. I'm
Yeah, because
curious if that's
because
actually
it's not sending you all the tools, but it's sending you the code to run that you have to then, that's eating up tokens. Yeah.
I
I'm
guess you're
curious.
just yeah,
I
you're just
want to see
running it
some
in a
benchmarks.
sandbox.
Like,
Yeah.
someone please give me some benchmarks. I'm willing to convert to be a believer. I have, strong opinions loosely held. So please convince me otherwise. But as of right now, I just don't quite see it.
Did
Yeah,
we ever
they,
get those benchmarks from code mode?
well, in the
Or would
article, it says, like, this reduces token usage from 150,000 tokens to 2,000 tokens, a time and cost savings of 98.7%.
With how many tools? I'm assuming you have to have a certain amount of tools for that context window to be eaten up with that many tokens.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think it says that.
So I think interesting. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I should do some more research, I guess. So Roshvan says my daily MCPs: Figma, Vercel, Linear, Docs MCP, Mastra, and AI Elements, GitHub, all in Cursor. So a lot of MCPs there.
dude, I found a benchmark. I was posted here. Code mode Python benchmark. So it looks like latency goes down, less API round trips, less tokens, better success, and accuracy. But I want to see what the raw data is.
And what models? I would be curious on what model it's using as well. Because models that, depending on if the
Gemini.
model is trained on tool calling or not. Obviously, all these models are really good at writing code. And some models are better than others at actually calling tools.
Fuck. What is this test? Maybe this thing's fake, dude. Anyway.
Is that the one? Yeah. Is that the same one that Sai just sent? Code mode Python benchmark? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I saw. I'm trying to look at the actual code being run. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also interesting that it seems like the TypeScript community are the ones that figured out, like, code mode is, like, the way to go. So I was wondering if you all had insight into that, because I saw that, like, not only, like, in the Anthropic's article about code mode, they, like, had TypeScript examples specifically, but also, like, Cloudflare posted a blog about, code mode and how they integrated that into their agents SDK, which is another, like, TypeScript library.
Yeah, Cloudflare was the first that I heard about it. So
Yep.
I think Sunil and the team that he works with over there was kind of big in code mode early, which, early meaning like it was a couple weeks ago. This stuff's moving fast. It was like maybe a month ago where he was first like talking about it. And yeah, we did talk about it a bit at that time when it was kind of announced. But and Manny asks, what's code mode? I don't know. Abby or Allie, you want to take that?
Go ahead, Allie.
Sure, yeah. Code mode is essentially where you get the list of, like, MCP tools that exist in that server, and then you're gonna go create, like, a document file, kind of almost like a Cloud skill, like a file that says like, here's the endpoints that you can hit. And then your agent's going to dynamically go and write code to call those like APIs essentially that are listed within that document. So this is a little bit like what Theo's video talks about too, where like we've got all of these repeated patterns, right? Where we've got files, we're going to feed that context into the LLM, and then we're going to like call that again. So it's like the concept of like, I don't know, skills kind of gets repeated. The concept of like MCP, like tool calling kind of like gets repeated. But essentially like the whole idea behind code mode is that LLMs are way better at writing code than they are at actually calling tools, because if you think about like what they're trained on in their data set, there's probably way less examples of calling tools than there are of like writing code. And that's why it's way better and like more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the question is this something that's temporary until models continue to get trained on more tool calling? Maybe if there's enough token and efficiency uses, maybe this is just a better way to do it. Maybe it's just a better pattern. I'm still not completely convinced, but I guess maybe I would be curious if there's anyone that's tried it comparatively to tool calling. I imagine the main gain you're going to see is accuracy and maybe some token savings, but curious what the real world results actually are.
There's a whole nother coalition who is in the business of training for tool calls, right? Like that is the RL world is all about, actually making tool calls the right thing to do. So it seems like they're both at a stand.
Yeah, Brad says, have we exhausted the usefulness of calling tools? I think my prediction is that the models are going to get better at calling tools. And yeah, either RL wins and like you can fine tune really, or basically like customize the model really easily based on your data to even be better at calling tools, or maybe like you can have it write code. I mean, I guess it's another approach. There's always this question of like, how do you get more accuracy? Well, one is context engineering, right? Like improve the prompt, improve the tool descriptions. Like that's the number one method people use, right? And then more and more people are starting to look at RL as an option. It's kind of time consuming, a little bit expensive, but if you do it right, you can save token costs, you can decrease latency, like all that stuff can happen if you RL the right way. Or maybe this is another way where it's like, okay, you can actually use, if tool calling accuracy is the problem and, bloated context is the problem, maybe having the model write code is a better approach. It'll be interesting to see which patterns become. I mean, context engineering isn't going to go away. That's always the first path, at least not anytime soon. But curious on which one of these becomes more popular. And maybe they're not completely overlapping, right? Maybe there's a use case for both, depending on the situation. But will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a really good take. I'm also interested to see like more providers of tools come about. Like for sandboxes, for example, some of those come with like a Git client where you can like Git clone your Git repo into your sandbox instead of using the MCP server for GitHub, for example. So maybe in some cases MCP becomes obsolete or like not needed.
Maybe in the coding case, but I still think it's very prevalent in big companies, which I think that gets understated in the argument. A lot of people are going to use it to share things.
Yeah.
Still feels weird to have the LLM write code that we've already written 100 times and then execute that code rather than just like you have the tool that already has all the code. I don't get it. So prove me wrong, people. All right, Allie. How do people tune into this great MCP debate? Can you tell us again, just remind us who's going to be debating? What are the sides? How do they go and find it? And if they can't see it live, like me, I won't be there live. How can we catch it after the fact?
Yes, so it's Thursday at 2:30 p.m. at the conference. I don't have like an exact location at the conference. I probably will soon, but it's going to be Ian Livingston and Dex Horthy debating. So super excited to have them both talk about MCP. We're going to record it as an Insecure Agents podcast, so you can listen to it on Spotify, and we'll probably record video with it as well. So anyone that's not there, you'll be able to watch it.
And open invitation for the winner or loser of the debate to come on the show and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Allie, we appreciate you coming on like always. For those of you who don't know, you can follow Allie on X, VTA How. Go give her a follow and check out the MCP debate at AI Engineer.
Awesome. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Yeah, see
See
ya.
ya.
See you.
All right, dude.
All
2
right.
segments down.
Now the favorite one, the one that we've all
Now-
been waiting for.
Now the one we've been talking about for months and I've been preparing for minutes.
Minutes.
But because I am not the expert, I'm bringing on someone who's also wouldn't claim to be an expert, but would be more expert than myself. So we're bringing on some extra firepower today. He's not a stranger to the show, but hasn't been on for a while. So we're going to bring on Tyler from the Master team, one of our founding engineers. Tyler,
Hey,
what's
y'all.
up?
Dude.
Not much. How's it going?
It's good, you know,
It's been a
just making
while.
moves.
Yeah, it's been
Good.
a
I
bit since you've been on the show.
Yeah, last time I think I came on like a bunch of times in a row, and then Daniel and I were streaming, and then I don't know, it's been like 6 months or something since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, time flies when you're shipping code.
Yep, it's true.
So maybe before we jump into this, like tell people a little bit about what you've been working on at Mastra. Those of you that maybe know Tyler, but maybe haven't seen him for a while. What's some of the stuff that you've been doing over in Mastra land?
I shipped we shipped the model router, so that was something that I worked on a lot. So the ability to use like a magic string and get like TypeScript autocomplete for choosing models, and then it's a big part of like the AI v5 work that we did to support that and support v4 and v5 at the same time, and memory and stuff like that. So lots of different things.
Yeah, excited about some of the upcoming things we have in
Yeah,
the
we got
next
cool stuff coming.
in the next few weeks or months. So that'll be exciting.
Yep.
All right. So I had ChatGPT 5.1 research Chinese models for me, so I could be better prepared because I know a little bit, but I probably know about as much as you if you're watching this. In fact, maybe you know more than me, but we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about the goal of this is I'll tell you the problem that I've experienced. I see all these model releases from all these different companies of names from I cannot pronounce, and I cannot keep them straight in my head. Which ones are good? Which ones suck? Are they open source? Are they open weight? Are they, should I use this one for coding? Should I use this one for a daily chat driver? We're not going to answer all those questions, but the goal of this segment is that maybe you can leave feeling a little bit more knowledgeable about all the different companies that are out there building LLMs, and especially those kind of coming from China, which there's a lot of them, right? It's hard to keep them all straight. So we're going to talk about it. So first of all, Tyler, which one's your favorite? Before we dive in.
So I really liked Qwen 3 Coder on Cerebrus because it was just insanely fast. It's not like a state-of-the-art model, and I haven't actually used it in a while now. But the newest like Minimax M2 and Kimi K2 Thinking look amazing. So I've been kind of like trying them out a little bit, but not too much so far. But I'm thinking K2 Thinking is going to be my new favorite. So.
All right. So now we just said a bunch of words that a lot of people in the audience don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Bunch of stuff.
If you watch the show, you've heard those words. Doesn't mean you understand them, but you've heard them. All right. So
I'm sure lots of people know what we're talking about, but yeah, probably a lot down to you.
All right. So let's talk about some of like the names of some of these companies. So you have Alibaba, which is behind Qwen, the Qwen models, right?
Yep.
You have Baidu, which is behind Ernie. I don't know what that is, but you have ByteDance, which is behind another thing I can't pronounce. Doubai, I don't know. Tencent is Hunyan models. But then you have some of the startups that are becoming more, I guess, prominent. You have DeepSeek, of course. I think everyone's heard of DeepSeek. Yep. Probably the best name. It's the most recognizable. You have Zipu AI, who's released GLM, which I've been hearing a lot more about, but I know nothing about other than I've just seen it.
Airbnb uses them.
What? Yeah, you have
Oh,
Minimax.
interesting.
So Minimax is the name of the company,
Minimax, my favorite one.
and the models. You have Moonshot AI, who is behind the Kimi models, right? That Tyler had just mentioned, and there's a few others, but those are probably we've probably named all the big ones. But that's what is that? 10 companies that are all releasing different models. So if you can't keep them all straight, there's a reason. There's a lot of them.
I feel like some of the ones you said in the middle actually aren't that important because they're not actually that good. So
Yeah.
like the Baidu ones, like Ernie, and like some of the other ones, like the Tencent ones and stuff, you might as well just use Quen if you're going to use those because it's like the same or better. But then the stuff we're talking about towards the end is like on a whole other level, you know.
Okay, so let's name the 5. You get 5. What are your
Okay.
5?
So DeepSeek. Wait, I got a list here. So DeepSeek, Quen, and then there's GLM 4.6, which that was Sifu, I think, right? And then Kimi and Minimax.
All right. So can you say those again? Those are the
Yeah.
5.
DeepSeek, Quen, GLM, Kimi, and Minimax.
All right. So if you're looking for a starting spot, pick one of those 5 and go from there.
Dude, I strongly suggest using Minimax because if you want to do different, like maybe not for like coding, actually maybe for coding, you can use it for M2. But okay, so Minimax this is gonna be my pro for Minimax. Minimax is cool because it's a diverse set of different products. They have a video model, audio model, they have regular, reasoning and everything else. So if you want to go like a one-stop shop to try a bunch of different things, that's the one. You don't have to like go anywhere else. But that's just my favorite one. They also have music too, which is tight. So you can just do a lot of different things there.
Yeah, you've been really into music stuff lately, right? Like I haven't listened to it. But you made like a R&B album, was it?
Oh yeah,
I used to know for that.
I gotta
you gotta drop the album.
Yeah.
So
I already dropped it, dude. It's on
yeah,
Twitter.
we'll tell the audience. Tell the audience what you dropped. I forgot about that.
Okay, so over the weekend, I had been like just writing a bunch of random premises in my my notes, and I always wanted to, like, now that we've been playing with Suno, like I was like, oh, maybe you can actually make a song, like a full 2-minute song. And so I took those ideas and I went into ChatGPT and I started iterating on like building out a couple words into like paragraphs. Maybe they're lyrics, maybe they're not, but they're just the concept of the song. And then in Suno, they have a lyrics thing where you can put lyrics into it, and then you can they can also like describe how the sound is. And then I just hit generate, and then like I did that like 100 times because not every song is good, or to my liking. And then I also realized you have to do other things when you're making music, because like if the song doesn't start in like 10 seconds, if the song starts in 10 seconds, the first lyric, I'm already like disinterested. So I had like prompted to be like, hey, within the first 2 seconds, I better hear the first word because otherwise they're gone. And then so I like, played with that, and then I made like only 6 songs made the cut, but you can see it on my Twitter if you want.
Well, when that'll be a sign off. Pick your favorite. We'll do that as a sign off song.
Okay, all right, I will.
Yeah. So Manny says Minimax M2 is number 4 on Open Router this week, and it's plus 335% growth. So it's on fire.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. So Tyler, can you talk us through like maybe some of the history of the Chinese models and how they came to be? What started this like wild phase of all these models coming out? And yeah, can you lay the groundwork a little bit?
I mean, well, I feel like back with like Llama, when that was open sourced, it wasn't very good, right? But I feel like we started getting Chinese models after that, right? But it wasn't until I think January this year when there was like the market crash with like DeepSeek R1, right? And then since then things have kind of gone crazy, feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like DeepSeek came out in January, right?
That was a big moment too.
Yeah, I mean, it was that was when everyone was like, "Oh no!" Like everyone over in the U.S. is like, "Wait, China's like might beat us at this,"
Yeah.
because
Where'd
they
this
because they
whale
did
come
it.
from?
Yeah, because they did it on and like and then like when Quen came out, right? It was like they're doing it on like worse GPUs with less budget, and they're
Mhm.
still coming out with like pretty good models. Like not as good, but you kind of can squint and say like, what if they had as good a GPUs and they had a little bit more budget?
Yeah. Yeah, like our R1 didn't support tool calling to begin with, for example, I
Yeah.
think. But a lot of people loved it for like deep search or like writing and stuff like that. So it was a good model. It's just it was lacking some things, right? So later on they did add tool calling, but I think at that point there were so many other good models that it wasn't even like a huge news story or anything, right?
Yeah, I feel like DeepSeek has kind of come out of favor a little bit compared to some of the other. Like on that list, it feels like DeepSeek is probably like 4 or 5 out on the list you gave, in my
Yeah,
opinion, just
I'd say it's
based on
5.
hype and popularity.
Yeah.
Also, DeepSeek made reasoning UI a thing, like a prominent thing. Before that, no one was doing like reasoning steps in their UIs and shit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
So
Perplexity, but
Yeah.
So Abdullahi, I think that's how you pronounce it, says the company I worked with blocked us from using DeepSeek due to security concerns. Let's talk about that.
Interesting.
Should we be scared of using these models? Should we like they were not created in the US, right? Should we be scared of using them? What do you think?
I mean, I think it depends, right? Like there was that big news story the other day of like what Anthropic just caught Chinese companies using like their models to try to do different attacks and things. So I know that's not really the question, but like I don't know. I think all these models inherently are somewhat dangerous in different ways. And the good thing about the Chinese ones is almost all of them are open weights, right? So you can have other companies hosting them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's where like should you be a little skeptical about using, going on the DeepSeek website and using it there? Well, you are then choosing to send your data to China, which maybe you're okay with, maybe you're not, but that's a choice that you are actively making. If you are running the model on your own, there's a lot less of a security concern. It's open weight. You can, you can see what's happening. It's not going out and actually sending that data somewhere. Now there's some like the way that it's set up. I've heard people speculate, well, could there be some kind of backdoor or something? I don't think so. I'm not a security expert. It doesn't seem like that's possible.
It's not possible. It could be through like tool calls, right? Like you could call some tool to do something, but that would be a massive news story if they were being trained to like
100%.
Nefariously like call tools to send your data somewhere.
Yeah,
we would all know about that. Like
you can hear about it, and these are, you have like obviously the open weight stuff, and some of them are even open source too, right?
Yep.
Is that true?
Some of them.
Yeah.
But
so
like,
I think you'd see that, right? Like that's people would know if that's happening. Now the question could be in the weights themselves around like, could it have a bias? Could it bias you towards certain ideals that maybe are not your ideals? That's probably the bigger risk, right? If you're using it as like a daily chatbot, could it be like, slightly biased onto something that you wouldn't want? But again, you're making that decision. If it serves your purpose and your needs, then I don't think it's that big of a cause of concern, but something to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, DeepSeek, because it's definitely a psycho, right? Compared, like, given the psychology, the personality disorder thing that we looked at earlier, it scored bad on everything.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's funny.
It's not a safe mind to have at your company.
Yeah, Claude did the best on that, right? Claude is like the least psycho.
Grok did actually.
Claude was good. Grok was surprising.
Claude was good too.
Google Gemma was terrible.
Gemma.
It led the benchmarks in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay, so I guess so if you look at like DeepSeek is open weights.
I think GLM is, Kimi is.
Yeah. What about Quen? Quen's a lot of the Quen models are Apache 2. So
Yeah.
Quen is much more open code. I'm not
I'll-
saying
I'll
it's
bet-
ever. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Well, they do have some models which are not open weights, but I think most of them are.
Yeah.
Um,
Like Moonshot has some open weight models.
mhm.
Minimax is open weight. All right, so Tyler, tell the audience what's the difference between open source and open weight.
I think that word came about because people don't like it when you call just like if they just publish the weights, but not the source code for how they like trained it or how it gets run or anything like that. People are like, that's not really open source, right? It's just part of it, just the weights. So I think that's the difference. To me, I don't really care. It's like you get this model for free and you can look inside of it, you could change it, you could fine tune it, you could host it yourself. Like to me, that's kind of the important part. So
Yeah, but you can't see the underlying source code of how they got to that. You can just see the result of it.
yeah. And,
So
I think some of them are open source.
Yeah, but so that's the difference if you're hearing open weights versus open source. Like yes, open weights are still very open. You can see the results of it. You just can't necessarily see how it got there.
Mm-hmm.
There are US companies that host these for us, right? So it's not like you're gonna have to go host your own Chinese models. You can go use like Open Router and Fireworks AI and any number of them to start playing with these today. You don't have to do it yourself.
Cerebrus, Grok with the Q.
Grok with the Q.
Together AI as well. I think.
Together
AI, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. So yeah, you don't have to host it yourself. Good, that's a good call. You can run it onshore, and then your data is not getting sent anywhere. You're running it yourself. You're controlling where it's getting sent to a little bit more. So I think you should feel a lot more comfortable doing that, which is what I would typically recommend if you're building things on top of this. You probably should use a US inference provider for some of this stuff. Would be my recommendation to you all. But just because you don't know what happens to the data once it gets over there, right?
And Brad said replicate also, yeah, in the same vein.
And you kind of have to pick one of these too, because it's like there's very few models that you'll have the hardware ability to actually run yourself. Like a lot of the smaller Quen models, you can definitely run. Might be a little slow, might use a lot of system resources like CPU and RAM and all that. But the big like state-of-the-art ones like Kimi K2, there's like no chance you're gonna run it yourself.
Yeah.
Even with there's like Unsloth makes 1-bit quantizations that are supposed to be pretty good. You probably can't even run those, right? Which is like a massively smaller version of the model. But
yeah, I think one of the appealing things of these models is that not just that it's more open than a lot of the US ones, but they're also typically cheaper. Not always, but typically the price seems lower. Now if you're running it on, onshore on one of these other providers, they're taking a cut on this stuff because they're running the inference for you, but it typically is quite a bit cheaper. So I think that's one thing that people look towards. If they can get similar functionality or quality for a lot cheaper, they might do that. They might make that trade-off. Of course, the ability to like fine-tune, retrain these models a bit more. So you see like Andy who's coming on, they're doing a lot of their RL with Quen models, right? It's probably not the only one they use, but that was the common one, right? That's the most common, I think. And so I think that it makes it easier to do that kind of thing on, obviously, because it's a little bit more open. Yeah, what else are we missing? What else would we know about Chinese models, Tyler?
Let's see. I mean, DeepSeek has a new experimental. It's like 3.2 is the version where it's like uses sparse attention, which I think they can cut the API cost like 50% because it's way cheaper for them to run it. I think it's been experimental for a while though, because the performance is not as good as even like their 3.1 model, I'm pretty sure. What else? So Kimi K2 thinking, which just came out, and then Minimax M2, they both do interleaved thinking. So this is something that Claude, or like Anthropic introduced in Claude like 6 months ago or something like that. So you can think, you can do some reasoning, you can call a tool, you can think, call a tool, and just keep doing that in a loop. So I think with Kimi K2 thinking, like they said, it can do like 300 tool calls of just thinking and doing stuff as it's working through some problem. Now, most models don't have interleaf reasoning, so it's super interesting to see two like open weights ones come out basically the same month, this month, and support that.
Kind of GPT-5.1, or is it OSS? Which one of those? Those interleave.
I think they probably both do, but GPT OSS definitely, yeah, you'll see that like locally. With GPT-5, like any of the 5, I don't think you're gonna actually see like the reasoning parts or anything. It'll be like in the inside the responses API, but I'm pretty sure it is doing interleaf reasoning.
And what's the benefit of doing interleaved reasoning?
I think it's just to increase the quality of like tool calling and like allowing it to like do like some kind of like agentic like task over like a longer period of time and just keep itself on track. And I think that's it. I do have like a link here. Let's see.
Yeah, well, while you're pulling that up, Manny says A16Z says most AI founders are coming in with Chinese models at their core. Quote, when entrepreneurs walk into the offices of A16Z, a big VC firm, the odds these days are that startups are using AI models made in China. I'd say an 80% chance are using Chinese open source or open weight model.
That's super interesting.
Very interesting.
I have not seen that, so I call bullshit, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I talk to, dozens of people a week and chat with hundreds on, Slack and, Discord and LinkedIn, and I haven't seen it yet. So maybe it's coming, but they're not using Master yet.
I mean, with K2 thinking, I might start using it, but I mean, not for like business stuff, right? This would be for like coding. So it's a bit different, but Can you see my screen?
We can, but I would say, obviously with Airbnb announcing that they're using 13 different models in their agent, and obviously some of them are coming, are Chinese models. I think we'll see it more and more. Like more people are probably starting to do it. It's going to become more commonplace. I think right now, I think a lot of people just pick the biggest and best, models, which is usually they just grab OpenAI because it's the most popular, or Claude because it has it's good at writing code, and they start with that, but then they may graduate to using some of these other models.
Yeah, definitely. And I think all these models were always, I think to start, they were like, it felt like they were like a year out of date with like the state-of-the-art closed source ones. And then it was 6 months, 3 months, and now it feels like maybe they're just lagging behind by like a month. So like Kimi K2 thinking, there's a bunch of people. I mean, I got a tweet right here. Like Tim Detmer is saying, he basically, I think he said he's thinking about canceling his Claude subscription and just using Kimi K2 thinking, which is kind of crazy. Like this is for coding specifically, right? But like their benchmarks here show, in some cases it's actually doing quite a bit better than like, here it's sort of on par, right, with GPT-5 beating Anthropic. Again, these are their own, reported numbers. So, it'd be good to look at some more like other people running running benchmarks and stuff. But this is pretty promising.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe the next model that comes out is going to be like even better than the closed source ones.
Yeah, we will. That's we didn't have that on our bingo card, Abby. That the best model of the year could be a Chinese one. We made a prediction of like who the best model. Let's do it right now, Tyler. You get to make your prediction. What do you think? And again, it's hard to say best because you obviously need to care about which benchmarks are you actually measuring for. But just friendly, fun. Who do you think the quote unquote best model provider is going to be at the end of this year?
I mean, we're pretty close to the end of the year, so it's probably one of the ones that's already out. But the next time there's like a big commotion with the models being announced and stuff, I'm betting on Qwen because they're lagging behind now. But when they do ship, they're shipping like a new model every week, which is just crazy. Like I think there was a couple month period where it was like every week they shipped something which improved on the last one. You know, so they're probably secretly just preparing some huge release right now, like Quen 4 or whatever.
Yeah, I think Gemini 3 is coming out, so there's some speculation. Is that one going to be the best at the end of the year? I don't know. I think that was our bet, Avi, was either going to be XAI or Google, and I think it's better chance for it to be Google at this point, but
yeah. I think best Chinese model is going to be Quen when all the dust settles, you know.
I'm sure Gemini 3 will beat whatever they come out with, but like
yeah.
Don't
bet against the USA, dude.
Gemini 3 is going to be crazy. I'm waiting for that. Like 2.5 is still actually crazy. It's such a good model.
Yeah, we got a couple other. So there's a poly market for which one's going to be the best AI model into December. Which company has a second best? Okay, not even first best, but second best. Interesting. Yeah, Doug says loving Claude Code with Claude Flow in his Mac terminal, but always interested in others. Yeah, I would say that's like I'm a Claude Code. You know, that's my daily, but definitely always interested in what else is out there and what's coming. So maybe. So what Tyler? Which one? If I had to pick one to start playing around with, what should be the one right now?
I would say Minimax M2 or Kimi K2 Thinking. But you have to make sure you're using a client that supports the interleaved reasoning properly. Otherwise, the quality is like significantly worse. But one of those two.
All right, best end of year odds. Google 73%, ZAI. What's ZAI?
They're. Oh yeah.
Who are these fools?
Aren't they the
I thought that's one of
the with the names. That's GLM, right? It's like Zippo.
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna say it's one of these. Yeah, Zippo AI. I don't know how to pronounce that, but
yeah.
So
I'm glad they
GLM.
go by ZAI.
ZAI is a little easier.
Easier to say.
Yeah.
But so the overwhelming odds are favoring our prediction from probably like 4 or 5 months ago, Avi, when we first made that prediction. That's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Dude,
all right,
we should put some bets in.
Yeah, we're like let's do it.
Yeah, we should do it.
Let's make some bets. All right, everybody.
Start a poly market for the show.
Anything else, Tyler, before we should wrap up?
Is this the last segment? Do we have a little bit more time?
I mean, we have some more time. We got time.
I did run a couple things locally. I could just show you.
Let's see it.
Yeah,
we
please.
got time.
All right. Can you see my editor here?
We can. I'll make it a little bit bigger. But if you can,
let me see if I can
zoom in.
All right, it might break. Will this work?
All right. Well, we can read it. I made it as big as
sorry.
I made it as big as I can make it.
I'll say like reading the text isn't actually that important. You can just kind of talk through it. But what I did was I ran 3 open code instances, all on the same PR. So one of them was with Minimax M2. Another one is with Kimi K2 Thinking, and then another with Sonnet 4.5. And I got each of them to review the PR. So I have like a / command that I'll run to do like an initial PR review. If I'm going to review someone else's PR and just sort of use that as a starting point. So the model will write this markdown file, PR summary. So we can kind of look at the differences between each of them. So I ran each of them with the exact same / command. So the interesting thing, I think, is that Sonnet wrote the most lines of this file. It's like almost 400, where Kimi K2 is like 250, and Minimax is like 124. So it's like a huge difference in the amount of output each one is doing. And I mean, more is not necessarily better, right? So like one of these actually might be a lot more accurate in terms of PR review. Now, I didn't actually read through everything, but you can kind of see like, I think actually Minimax might have been the least detailed, but it might have followed the prompt the closest, which is quite interesting. So like there's not a lot in this file, right? This is the Minimax review that it did. Whereas Kimi K2 actually like started writing like code examples of like code that was in the PR. Kind of it ended a little bit weirdly. I guess it just put a usage example at the end, but
Interesting.
All of them did a good job, I think, right? Like, it's kind of nuts. It's like that. This is not like working on a coding problem, right? This is more of like search and summarization. But the Anthropic one was definitely the most detailed, that's for sure. We put like file names and stuff where to look. So, it's kind of cool.
Super sick, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that Anthropic's the one that spits out the most tokens.
Right? Because they're going to charge you for it.
Like, hey, our tokens are going to be more expensive and we're going to use a lot more of them.
Use a lot more, yeah. Speaking of which, I do have like the context window size for each of these. So this one is Sonnet 4.5. If I was to send another message, the context window would be 72,000 tokens. And let's see, Kimi K2, 80,000, so pretty similar. And then Minimax M2, only 64,000. So definitely would have been the cheapest one to run for this. I mean, it actually even shows that it cost me 12 cents to run this PR review, or 60 cents for Kimi K2. So
What was Anthropic?
I mean, 0 because I've got Claude Max planned. So I don't. I have no idea.
That would have been the most
It
expensive.
would have been the most expensive for sure, by a lot. It would have been like $5 or something, I think.
Yeah, that would have been the most expensive one. And then you'd have to evaluate, do I really need this PR review?
Exactly.
12 cents. You're always going to say yes.
Like, yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. So Manny says that this is a better polymarket. Google at 84%, Anthropic at 6%, OpenAI at 5%, XAI at 4%, Alibaba at 1%. So Google's still coming out on top. Brad says, would love to learn more about your PR workflow, Tyler. Very cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just a slash command. I should share it somewhere so you could use it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll post it on Twitter or something.
Yeah, post your PR/command on Twitter, and for those of you, I think I have I don't have your Twitter here. What's your Twitter, Tyler?
It's TYLBAR.
TYLBAR?
Yeah.
TYLBAR. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it up on the screen right there. Hopefully that's right. Follow Tyler.
Yeah, that's right.
Give him a follow. He'll post his slash command, and then, those of you who want to try it and make it better, please do. All right. This has been a good show.
Yeah. Tons of audience activity today.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've been watching the whole time, I appreciate you being here. For those of you that are just coming now, well, we're about to wrap up, but you can watch the replay on YouTube. So please go to YouTube and follow us there. It's at Mastra-AI on YouTube. Subscribe, like, do all the things that all the cooler kids say when you're on YouTube. We appreciate that. If you are listening to this after the fact on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a 5-star review if you found some value, or you laughed, or you had a good time. We're here almost every Monday around this time, noon Pacific. We will definitely see you next week. Abby, you have a song queued up?
Yep.
All right. All right. And with that, this has been AI Agents Hour. I'm Shane with Abby and Tyler. We're going to listen to King Me, Abby's Suno song. Let's go. See y'all next week.
King me. King me. Gotta crown me. Bow down now.
This is crazy. This is
Tony.
No way.
Step in the spot. Feel the heat rise. Yeah, they all watching. With wide eyes, ice on my wrist, it glisten. You know I run this whole system. Don't get in my way. Today is my day.
All right, everybody.
They see me come.
Peace.
See ya.